Well, good day, Ash.
Hey buddy, how you doing? Sorry,
Oh,
I was
oh,
tight.
you just made it, eh?
I just made it. I was only on the other side of the room trying to plug my phone in, but it needs a bit of jiggling. I've just ordered a new one, but the old one is still playing me up. So here I
Phones do
am.
that, don't they? How's the
Oh
week
mate,
been?
it's been great. Actually, mate, very good. And we get some proper movement today in some Ethereum, which is fantastic. Hey there, Shupra.
Okay.
Yeah, which we needed. There's a little bit of weakness in the stock market, but I don't think it's enough to get us an opportunity. So we'll see. I mean, there's probably a short term opportunity um, as we go into Thanksgiving, obviously. Um,
Yeah.
but I do think that
Thanksgiving.
the stock
Turkey
market
time.
is probably just a little bit overvalued. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's necessarily a good idea, but let's have a look and see what we've got.
Okay. Currencies are pretty slack this week, I've got to say.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the dollar though. Geez, have you seen the dollar? The dollar is in all sorts of trouble. Good
Well, that's
afternoon,
to be
SF.
expected.
Yeah, I mean, more bad data from the US yesterday, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But we were starting to get. Hey, John, we were starting to look at some stocks. Sorry, we were starting to look at some of the structures yesterday, and we were hoping to look at stocks. We had so much to get through. We went through quite a lot of COT data and seasonality as well, and we will push on to stocks. But let's have a look at the dollar. And let's have a look at what's
Hmm.
driving the market right now. Let's just have a quick look at the FTSE and see if there's an opportunity, because the FTSE has pushed down today. Now the FTSE really isn't a buy zone. It's quite weak so far this morning, and I wouldn't be that surprised to see the FTSE weaken a little bit further. But let's have a look to see whether we like the buy zone and whether we agree with it. It might be a little bit lower. So this is where we are, really on top of that weekly pivot. Well, not on top of it, just slightly underneath the weekly pivot. But if we bring up some trend lines, then we can see whether we like the trade or not. There's a lower trend line there, and we can probably establish this one here as well. So there is a potential to buy here, but I personally wouldn't choose to do so. This is a very, very negative looking bar. So there's an engulfing bar there, and that would potentially promote quite a few orders under this bar. What I'd quite like to see is the bar break, push down here, probably pulling everybody into it, and then push up again. I don't see the reason that we would necessarily push down today, and I wonder whether there might be a short-term opportunity. So if this does push down, then there's every chance that I will try and pick it up down here. Now we're going to have to establish what else is down here, if anything, for us to take the trade. So let's put in a horizontal level. Yeah, looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. So I quite like that as a trend line. So currently I'm looking at 63.30 for a long on the FTSE. It's going to be a difficult one to pull up the fib with, but we can just double check this area. This is so tight here. Yeah, I suppose unsurprisingly, it's under the 61.8% retracement. I don't think I'd like it here, mate, to be honest. And the reason I wouldn't like it here is mainly because of this bar. So even though I like the price, the price bar doesn't suggest that we're going to be going too far up at this particular stage. So I wonder
And
whether retracement.
probably the two seller bars before that range that has now been broken probably are a little bit scary also.
These two here,
Yeah.
yeah,
Kind of pointing in one direction, isn't it?
I think it is. I think it is, and I would be quite happy to take a short if we broke through this area. Because I think that the market, it's undoubtedly got overextended. What's interesting here, and somebody was talking about this that I was listening to yesterday, and I thought it was very poignant. So, just a quick lesson into a momentum indicator. What do we got here? Here we go. Where are you? Well, let's use the RSI. Doesn't really matter which one we use. I'm going to use the standard setting at 14. And I'm going to bring it to a it doesn't really matter what color you use. I quite like Orchard. There it is. So now just to quickly run through what I've done here to add the indicator. I went to Inserts and clicked on Inserts on MT4. I went to Indicators, and then I just went down to the Oscillator section here. And then from the oscillator section, I've gone to RSI, which is the relative strength index, and that tells us the relative strength of the moves in the market. Now it looks like we might need to edit this a little bit because it hasn't got the numbers on here that I like. So I'm just going to bring up the indicator again and just have a look at the levels. So 30 is correct, 70 is correct. Let's get that 52 from. Okay, I see why it's done that. I'm just going to bring that up 50. That one I can get rid of. So 30, 70, and 50. Now the 30 is the oversold level, 70 is considered overbought, and 50 is the middle level. So I'm going to change that level to white as well. And I quite like it as a thick line, but just going to double check with. Yeah, no, actually I don't like it as a thick line because it's hiding my price action. So I'm just going to go back to the indicators, edit this. And I'm just on levels here. So you get parameters, and this is where you can change your period to 14. I've changed my style to medium orchard, but it's because I've got a black background, but you don't have to do that. Apply to close, so make sure that's giving us the read from closing prices. And then when we go to levels, we see 30, 70, and 50. I've changed my style to white because it's a black screen again. And what I want to see is just a dotted line instead. So I've gone for the middle one there. Visualization, just make sure all timeframes are clicked, just so you can see it on all the timeframes. Okay, so there we go. Now we can see the price. We can see the momentum indicator a little bit better here. So what's happened is this monthly indicator. Now what you can see how it tracks the price. So the momentum has moved to the upside on the monthly. Now under 50 suggests that it's bearish, and over 50 suggests that it's bullish. So while we're under 50, then there might be some selling pressure. When we look at the weekly is over the 50 line, and it's got a little bit of room to get to overbought territory. So a weekly's got a bit of room to the upside to travel, and I am bullish on stocks. So I'm only looking really for a retracement to get in to the long side. Either way, and I'm not sure whether it's going to come all the way down there, but I would trade it if it did. No, that's week on week. Now, when we look at the daily, you can see that it got to overbought condition here. And what's happening now is for the common belief of the common use of the indicator is to buy if it's above 50 and sell if it's below 50, which means that the closer to 50 that we get with a momentum indicator, the better the suggestion that price is. And two things can happen with this. Either, let me just bring my pen on. Either what we like to see is price. So if this was our indicator down here, and this is our chart up here. So this is showing our price points here. So what can happen is that price can go up like this. And start moving to the upside, and then what we'll see is the indicator kind of following it, and then get into overbought territory, and you know, like it is here. So it's in this overbought territory. Now what can happen is one of two things. Either price comes down to allow the indicator to unwind back to the downside, or, which I suspect may happen, I don't know if it will, but I'm looking out for this because I'm quite bullish on the FTSE. What may happen is we might get, let's just put that line back in. We might get price action doing this instead, where it's just going sideways. And what that can do is just unwind the indicator back down to 50 without it actually moving down. So in this kind of scenario, this is suggesting that this range is actually quite bullish, and we should be looking for upside. So we need to watch out for it. But so where we are now is this indicator is unwinding. It's starting to unwind. It's starting to make some dips, like a lower dip there. It's a lower high, and this is what the chart did. Even though the chart moved higher, it didn't move higher, as high with anywhere near the same velocity as the previous move up here. So the momentum is slowing, and that's what it's telling us. Momentum to the upside is slowing. So we're looking really for a choppy kind of region here, and it might end up just being down at this point here, but before we look at it, and that would actually give us a pretty nice pattern. So if that was to happen and the indicator's down there, then we're starting to look for upside, probably along this horizontal level instead. This is suggesting that if we were to look for upside in longer, for the longer term, we would be we'd have a higher probability of being a bit burnt. So on the daily time frame, day over day, is not suggesting that this is the point to buy and hold. Now, if we look at the 4 hour, the 4 hour has not only unwound, but it's actually in selling territory now. So really, for the 4 hour to give us a buy signal, it's going to have to pop up to the upside. But when we look at the hourly, you see the hourly is not quite there, but it's at or near oversold territory. So again, this is a buy zone in accordance to the indicator, but touching the level would be better. So just a quick kind of quick lesson in how to use the RSI. And what can happen with the RSI depending on the type of trend we've got. So where that leads us is to say that that's our resistance level there. And if we are going to be aiming for some upside, then if the market pushes down here into this area, then we'd probably look for around about 60 pips, which wouldn't be too bad. If we can get a fairly tight stop at this level. And it's a bit deep. Yeah, we're not going to have a lot of room. There's 10 there. So what we'd need to do is make sure we got some price action down here on shorter term timeframes, i.e. the 15 or the 5 to give us an area that we can put a stop to see that we can actually grab something. So really what I'd like to wait for is price to push down to this point, shorter term timeframes then start to play a part, and we see if we can get something of a higher low on a 5 or something, and then we'll have a place to put a stop, and we've got a target up here as well. And that target is, it might end up that by the time we get down there and are about to go up, the target is the weekly pivot. So we'd have to make an assumption of whether it's worth it at that particular point, because it might only give us a 45 pip area, so we'd want no bigger than a 20 pip stop loss on that. So we want it carving out really by coming below the line, because otherwise we're going to be buying it fairly high. So let's see if it transpires, mate. With Thanksgiving, the kind of word on the street, I'm not sure whether that will happen. I don't know whether we're going to get that opportunity.
Yeah, it could be interesting. Old snoozy times coming up for the rest of the day. I'm not sure myself, but that said, I think it's been pretty much for me on currencies a pretty old snoozy time anyway. As well, a lot of these pairs reach resistance or support, and now on high alert for potential reversals. But at the moment, it's kind of a little bit snoozy, I've got to say. It's wait and see.
Well, I'll tell you, one that did have a really good move is Ethereum. You look at what happened to Ethereum down here.
That's not currencies though.
Well, it's our crypto. Let me bring this in. I don't want to have to leave the values
I haven't
on there.
been anointed by Shukri yet. So.
Oh, have you not?
No. So I can't trade these things.
Well, I mean, to me, mate, to a degree, it's just a bit of a chart. That I mean, I understand them to a degree. I've got a bit of belief in the likes of Ethereum, but not with not with a huge fundamental knowledge behind me. It's more the fact that I just want it as part of my portfolio, just to kind of hedge out some of the risk. If it does start to take off. So I bought it. I bought it. Sense. Yeah, I think it does. I bought Ethereum down here quite a while ago now when it was in this area, and it came down this morning. So I thought I'd buy some more, because really, it didn't quite come to where I wanted it to. Was the only thing. It was a little bit higher than I would have liked, which means that I might have to go in again. But let me just show you where it was.
Tell you one thing that does concern me. All the newscasters are now starting to talk about cryptos.
Yeah,
They've discovered them.
yeah.
That's a
Well,
worry. That's a
It,
worry.
it, it is a worry. There's no two ways about it. And as far as I'm aware, Ethereum have got some sort of launch going on the 1st of December, so it may push down a little bit further. But I'm kind of okay with that because I've got this area down here as a bit of protection in many respects. So this would have to come down halfway before I'm actually in the red with it. But where I wanted Ethereum and where I'll probably buy another position. It was just down here. It didn't quite get there, but it was just down here. I wanted Ethereum to come and touch, and it might do that. It might still do that. What might end up happening is that the trend line might end up reaching that weekly pivot, and if it does, no problem. I'll not try and get any more out of it. So when it started to bounce earlier on the 15, I was looking at when it started to bounce here with this bar. When it came back, I thought, well, I better buy into it, and I've taken Ethereum to the upside. But the point, it wasn't really about what I was doing. The point was, this is the only thing I saw with any genuine movement. That's a pretty big move down from 600 to 500 in a couple of days, really. We get some proper retracement, but when we compare that to some of these markets, they haven't really done the same thing. There's not a great deal of movement in the FTSE. The CAC I think, is the most surprising of all markets. I think the numbers coming out of France have been absolutely shocking, and yet the CAC still manages to survive, and it even gapped up this morning. When I was looking at it, this is the first bar of the day up here. Yes, it is. First bar up there eventually ended up selling off, but the CAC is holding up fairly well. And I suppose it's a little bit of the state of play. I wonder whether we're going to get any significant sell-off before Thanksgiving is done. Maybe it's just not going to happen.
Well, it's not supposed to, is it? Isn't well? The S&P trade looks to be going okay from the Monday buy. That's going all right.
I don't think this Monday was the third Monday, though, is it?
No, but it's a Thanksgiving play.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was a Larry Williams one, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Dollar index, unbelievable. We'll have a look at it in a moment, but I'll let you take anything to take over for a bit, mate. If you've got anything you want to look at.
Yeah, really, I just wanted to have a look at what you can sort of see easily anywhere else, and it's a comparison of the majors and where they're at, and what they're doing, and where they're sitting. The dollar, as we know, has been tanking, or certainly in a downward trend. I'm looking at the hourly charts here. Probably best to go to the daily, and these are the majors, how they're performing. And it's interesting to note, and I know this is very small on your screens, and it would be. It's very interesting to note that the dollar index here is very much in I'll call it the last support level. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And it is having a little bit of a bounce off that. Whether it's able to bounce higher is a great question. We've been looking at this one for quite some time, and really there is no hope for it, in my opinion. But that said, we are at a support level. So you've got to be kind of thinking that there will be some sort of buying or some sort of profit taking here, however you want to describe that, or however you want to look at it. Perhaps there is a little bit of a buying opportunity, I'll put it that way, on the US dollar. I wouldn't be in that game. I don't think that's a fantastic game to play, frankly. But that said, with all of these other currencies, euro, pound, CAD, Aussie, Kiwi, they're all at the same sort of thing, upside down, of course. They're all at resistance levels. Resistance level on the pound, resistance level on the euro. Kiwi is the only one that's cleared out, really, and it's gone well through any form of resistance. There's just nothing in sight. But that, of course, lends you to think, okay, is it overbought? I'd say the answer to that is probably yes, it is. But you can see that the Aussie is at a resistance level. You can see that the CAD is at a resistance level, and a strong one. So on that basis, I've kind of got to be thinking, Maybe there's deep retracement coming on all of those pairs. That's kind of where I'm at. I look at the Swissy and the yen, trying to get a gauge on whether we're risk on or risk off. And all I see here is midstream. I don't see anything that's really pertinent. Maybe a little bit of a rally on both of those, but yeah, nothing to really hang your hat on, I wouldn't have thought. So the only thing I'm really gaining by looking at these majors and their relative positions is that perhaps there's a bit of retracement coming. I wouldn't like to be trading, the CAD long, for instance. I wouldn't like to be trading the euro long. Wouldn't like to be trading the pound long because we are at those resistance levels. And I certainly wouldn't like to be trading the dollar full stop. It's pretty much that simple. So it's a complex arrangement here that really says to me only one thing, and that is look for the retracements. And if they don't come, then there's always next week at the end of the day. Let's try and transfer that into some meaningful charts. I was looking at quite a few pairs coming into the week. I'll just go through the 4 that I started with on Sunday. CAD yen, I've been in a trade CAD yen since goodness knows when. When was that? It was a week or so ago, trading this bar here, that's right. And that didn't reach TP1 for me. I was looking for TP1 around about the monthly pivot, since gone against me. Still underneath this trend line, which is helpful, but I need help with this trade. I'm actually looking to go again short, but I'm not getting the right candle pattern. I'm not getting the right signal from the market to suggest that that is the right play. But going back to what I just described, or just watch those charts that I just displayed, rather, I think this is probably an opportunity to get that retracement that I'm talking about. Whether that's applicable against the yen or not is another story, but the yen potentially was looking at a little bit of a rally and plenty of room to go. And the CAD, of course, is at resistance. So why not? I think that can happen. My fate is in the hands of that particular scenario, I suppose, on this trade. But I am still looking for a lower high here. Maybe this is it, but it's not the right scenario in terms of a candle pattern for me to trade it. So as you know, I only trade setups, not levels. So that's CAD yen. That was the first one that we're looking at for the week. Euro Aussie was the second. Now we're looking to play Euro Aussie as always, outside or inside out or outside in, if you like, whichever way you want to put it. We're looking to play it off the bottom of this range. Of course, we've been in this range since May, and I was looking for a bounce off the bottom. I'm not sure it's got to the bottom yet, and that's the issue here at the moment. If I switch to the 4-hour chart, you can see, if I go a little bit wider, that there is a question mark on this. Have we actually gone to the bottom? The argument I put up for myself, and I always argue with myself and generally lose, and it's very, very clear that this very strong support level, I may well be a little bit ambitious with the bottom of that range, but it's still there and it's in my line of sight. So that concerns me somewhat. But if I were to see, you can see why I've got that level. Actually, it probably is a little bit low. I'll go with the red line and say that we have hit the bottom of that range. Why not? So I'm looking for a higher low on any chart, really. And the 4-hour chart is probably the most probable at this point. There's the double bottom, if you like. There's the higher high. Now all we really do need is that higher low. On the 4-hour chart that we're looking at, we've got probably pretty good prospects here if we can wait just a little longer. And maybe this candle closes where it is. Another one settles in that area. We get back above the trade line. That one there. Back above it, retest the confluence. In the meantime, giving us the higher low. Maybe this is the higher low forming on a doji bar. I'll be interested to look at that. Tough to trade it because you've got the daily pivot sitting there, but the daily pivot has been broken and retested. So I'd be okay with that. What have we got? 19 minutes to go in this candle. That'll be interesting. I'll come back and have a look at that. when we do have the top of the hour. Might be worth a trade. Dollar CAD was the next one, and dollar CAD has kind of gone a long way from where we were looking to trade it, and we were looking to trade it on the daily candle, which was this one. I know that's a long time ago, but that's the one we were looking to trade. No entry there, and I have cancelled that order. Still looking, however, for a higher low here. I'd prefer it to be coming back inside this range, I'd have to say, and that's going to take a lot of time. I don't see any opportunity on the daily chart to enter anytime soon. So let's have a look at the 4-hour chart. Still looking for a higher low here. It's a mess, really, at the end of the day. We've now gone into another little bit of a consolidation area in the past 24 hours, having just broken out of one. So, yeah, not 100% on board with this either way. I think I'll just give that one a pass for now. I have cancelled the order long on that one. Aussie yen was the next. I am very, very conscious that the Aussie has come to that resistance level, and there it is there. It's just under the 77, sorry, 70, that's right, 77 mark on Aussie yen. False break of that level back in August, and we've retested it a few times. We're there again. I actually like this level. I think it's really good because it's got a resistance trade line or trend line as well. We've got a horizontal level coming through there. That's got history back here. We've also got the top of this ascending channel, and we're having another pump at it. I'm pretty keen to find an entry here, an entry short on Aussie yen. Alternatively, if it broke above that confluence area, then okay, we can look for longs. But until it does, I think that short is definitely the sport that I want to play here. So looking perhaps for a false break of this trade line. That's the daily chart. 4-hourly chart kind of gave us that yesterday in this bar here. I'm glad I wasn't trading here because I probably would have taken that. Although the candle, I don't like the candle. It's a little bit too taily both ends, but I probably would have had a good look at that and probably placed an order there, and I'd be regretting that at this point. From now, interesting, isn't it? I don't, that trend line is no longer applicable because we've been violated too many times. I'm not sure how I get into that, frankly. The only way I can see is if we play a false break off that trade line. So price up to here, match the high, back underneath the confluence, retest it, and away we go. So that's Aussie, and I am keen to trade this short because of that confluence area that we're at, and of course we're at a very strong resistance level, and I think the Aussie is in such a position. So they're the four that I was watching at the outset. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more pairs to go. We won't bother you guys with that in this session because it's about to end, but we'll probably go through a few of those. A lot of them are not possible to trade at the moment, but if I was trading tomorrow, which I may well do, because at the end of the day, Thanksgiving will be done. The Yanks will be keen to get back in the market, one would think. So we'll probably be looking at some movement tomorrow. So I may well be looking to trade tomorrow and trading off these resistance levels that we do see on the majors. Yeah. So that's where I'm at, mate.
I understand it, mate. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. I think we need to have a look at some of these just some of the fundamentals that we've had this week, and see if we can start getting an idea of where things sit. I mean,
not a lot's happened though, has it really?
Well, I mean, we had some jobs numbers from the States yesterday. There has been a few bits and pieces out, and there's developments also from the UK with Rishi Sunak kind of coming out and saying really how bad things are. It's hard to colour up than anything but that. But he really has been talking about how dire this has been with the debts not being as bad as this since in peace times.
I was talking to my son yesterday because it was his birthday yesterday, and he's a programmer for a it's not governmental, it's a private run organisation that is the centre of credit checks in Australia.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how this pans out, but it has never been at the level that it currently is. The amount of credit that is out there that's unsecured. So there's a lot of people right now who cannot pay their bills and will not be able to pay their bills because they don't no longer work. It's dire apparently, and there's a lot of red flags going off in that particular area. Not sure how that comes into play, but it's certainly worth noting that there's going to be a heck of a shock come March here in Australia because of all of that. I'm not sure that's inside knowledge, but it's a fact.
Yeah, it is a fact, and I think you're ultimately just looking at which is relatively better off. Which countries are relatively better off, because they're all in terrible shape. With the
that's why I mentioned that, because you're saying that that Britain's in bad shape. Yeah, so what? Everyone else is too.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is a fair point, but I have to say that Britain is probably in worse
really
shape.
Bad.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, well, it's a matter of degrees, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, and that's what this comes down to. Except for China, which is, I do find quite incredible. But yeah, China is certainly one country that has come out of this. I won't say relatively unscathed, because they have been damaged, but they were coming from quite a high base anyway. So where they've
you don't say that, people start to think that they started a virus called
yeah.
China
Well, I've got a lot of people that say that to me, and I always say the same thing to them. To what end will that information that you're trying to gather get you? So, I mean, if they did, they did. What? So now what is kind of the always the is always the thing. It's
although interesting development that I heard on the nightly news this evening was that we know how China's been flexing its muscle, not only with Australia but all over the world apparently.
Yeah.
The Poms and the Aussies have now banded together, vowing to fight together to stop this bully attitude coming out of China. So they won't be the only two. There'll be quite a few.
There will be others, mate. But how far do they go with that bravado?
Because we've been saying this for months. The only way to do it is to stop buying off them.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop trading with them. That's it.
Exactly.
And are we about to see that happen?
Probably well, the UK can't afford it right now. Anyway, we better move on to the Zoom show, mate. Thanks for everyone for joining us. We will be obviously back next week. I think it's going to be. I think you guys know the plan. Hopefully, you know the plan. Certainly with the FTSE 100, I'm looking to buy the FTSE 100 around about 63.30 and play it up to around about the weekly pivot and beyond, but get those stops at a break even. I don't think we're going to get a breakout, so I don't think it's a buy and hold kind of scenario today. I think that we're looking at short-term moves, and actually, if there are any ranges, then you can probably play the bounces off the bottom and the refusal off the top. I would.
And that's what I'm looking to do on the currency pairs.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense to me, and I think that you're probably in much better shape than I probably would be, but to trade this market in some respects with your approach. But I can switch my approach and see what we get. But yeah, thanks guys as always, and thanks for participating for the whole week. And we will see you on Monday, will we not?
Yep. Have a great weekend.